Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the warm-ups that coincide with the first week of the cycle that we just started for the third quarter. Before we get started, please let me encourage you to write down the question and the answer in full and to format the answers in a different colored font. Here's the first question of the day for Monday and Tuesday from 2/8 to 2/9. What other factors contribute to bias in media and news sources and accurate reporting? Identify and explain at least 6 things. So while you type down that question, basically in this lesson, we're going to be learning more about other factors that impose bias in our news. Let's go and get started with the first answer. So basically, the source itself can be biased. Did you know that some media sources by design, or inception, or functionality are biased? Some sources literally form around a common cause or a common purpose. So asking yourself what that common cause or common purpose is can be helpful. Additionally, the journalists themselves can be biased too. The people actually doing the field reporting and going out there in the real world and assembling the news for you, yes, they have bias too. Additionally, the reporters themselves can be biased as well. The people actually broadcasting the news impose their own bias through different ways. Whether it's through radio, internet, blogging, or more, bias is sure to infect the news. The news story itself can be biased as well. Do you ever stop and wonder, why am I being told this piece of information? Well, the type of news story, whether or not it gets through the gate in the first place, and its purpose is meant to, of course, incite some type of knowledge or action. And of course, you should think about the money and special interests. Financial contributions, donors, and special interests donate a lot of money to specific news organizations and outlets for different reasons. You must ask yourself the question, why? And then down here at the very bottom, cognitive bias. There are a lot of underlying subconscious factors that happen in the mind and in the brain, and it would behoove you well to think about some of those types of psychological factors that impact your way of thinking when it comes to reading, watching, or analyzing the news. So as you guys can see, those are some of the factors that create bias in the news. Let's move on to the next question of the day. For what specific reasons is propaganda influential in the media? Listen and explain at least 6 reasons. Okay, here we are. So while you finish typing down that question, let me explain to you why this matters. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at propaganda specifically and the different techniques that are utilized on a daily basis through different forms of media. So let's go ahead and get started. By design, propaganda is meant to convey information and to promote an idea. So in many ways, propaganda can be also, subclassified as commercials or basic advertisements. And techniques of propaganda are just so many. There are so many different methods used for different reasons at different times, and so we're going to delve a little bit deeper to understand more about the different types of methods used. There's a lot of topics that can be covered with propaganda, although propaganda is most influential for politics, campaigns, war, camaraderie building, commercial advertisements too. So many of those types of topics, of course, use propaganda means and techniques. Propaganda can also have direct effects. Propaganda can raise awareness, spark outrage, inform and educate in a short period of time. And in the short term, sometimes successful propaganda is meant to, of course, reach you at a personal level. But it can also affect you indirectly. Over time, propaganda can build a consensus culture, persuade or dissuade a whole population. And although this might happen in the long term, it is quite helpful and beneficial. And then last but certainly not least, propaganda is meant to incite some type of action in most cases. Whether it's buying a product, of course taking the news and acting on it, certain news pieces can be meant to purposely bring action on purpose. So that's something I want you guys to consider. So in this lesson, when we analyze different forms of propaganda, all this will make much more sense when we understand it from an objective standpoint through what we know about the media. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the World Packet cycle when it's posted accordingly.